Hi everyone. Welcome back to Kwala, a Web3 workflow automation protocol. Today, we will create a simple use case on student certification and distribution using Kwala. For the past few videos in Kwala Actions, we have been sending static values to the functions and APIs. However, today we learn about how you can push dynamic values in outputs in Kwala Actions. So let's begin with our today's use case. So as you can see this diagram, we'll be creating two separate smart contracts for this use case. The first smart contract will register the student with their details, and the second smart contract will issue the certificate of that registered student. Just for the information, this demo is to show you the utility of regex in Kwala Actions. So here, we are not going to extend this use case with NFT-based certificates. Right now, it's a simple parameter as certificate ID. So here, we'll be using regex for dynamic actions. Now coming to the workflows, the first workflow will issue the certificate, and the second workflow will notify the user about the certificate. So let's see how would this work. Our first workflow will trigger the event to our first smart contract, which is to register the details. So once the details of the student has been registered, it will call upon an action. Our action over here will be a call to our second smart contracts function. Here, this function will issue the certificate with the details sent by student registered. Now coming to our second workflow, once the certificate has been issued, this particular function will emit an event named certificate issued. Once this event is triggered, it will activate workflow 2. Now when this event is emitted, it will perform an action notifying the user about their certificate ID and rest of the details. So, let's see how it's done. So as you can see my screen, this is my first smart contract which adds the student details. As you can see, we have a function named suggester. It emits student register. And our second smart contract, which is to issue the certificate. Our function here name is issue certificate. And once the certificate is issued, it will emit certificate issue. Right now, for the convenience, I have already deployed these smart contracts on Polygon Amoy. Now let's begin with our workflows. Coming to Kwala website, I'll click on Start Building. I have already connected my Kwala wallet, so I'll go to my workflows. I'll click on New Workflow. Let's start with building a new workflow. So as we know, first we have to create our first workflow, which will issue the certificate to the registered user. Let's name this workflow as Issues, or Is the kit here has to execute after the event, which is student registered. So I'm going to select as event for execute after and repeat every. Coming to the expiration part, now I'll add the details. When do I want this workflow to end? So I'm going to add the details. Now coming to the triggered smart contract part. So as we know, here our first smart contract will be the register user 1. So I'm going to add the details. This is my smart contract, and this is the event that has to be emitted. So I'm going to add the smart contract address from here. And the smart contract is deployed on Amoy Polygon. So as the smart contract is already published, so caller is going to catch the event name automatically. And the ABS have been fetched already. Now I'm going to repeat this process for the notifications. I want to have notifications on my Kwala portal only. Coming to the actions part. So as we know, we are going to call a separate smart contract for this, which is issue certificate. So I'm going to add the details over here. As we are going to call another smart contract, so the action type has to be call smart contract. Let's name this action. This is our second smart contract, which has already been deployed and published. I'll copy the smart contract address from here, and here I have to call the function name issue certificate. Let's add the details from here. In this particular format, the keyword function name has to be there, and function and the data type variables in the argument. Let's select the chain ID as more Polygon. Now coming to the crucial part. So here we want the student wallet address and student ID to be dynamic. Here comes the critical part. So we want the student wallet address and the student ID to be dynamic. So for that, you can go to regex-Kwala Lovable app. This helps you create the regex in an easy manner. So right now, I have only 2 parameters. So I'm going to copy-paste these details from here. The format here is going to be re-event and double quotes. You can copy-paste it for both of my arguments. This is my first records. And this is my second records. Now I'm going to click to Next. So execution here can be anything, since it's only one action. I'm going to create this workflow. Let's cross-check all the details. Let's click to compile. I'm going to save this workflow. It's time to deploy this workflow. It will take a few seconds. Until then, we'll create our next workflow, which is workflow number 2, that helps the student to get modification whenever the certificate has been issued. Let's go to Workflow Builder. Let's name this workflow as Certificate Modification. Here, it has to be event only. So here, whenever the event name certificate issued is emitted, it's going to catch this, and it's going to perform the action to notify the user. Let's make it work for next 1 hour again. Coming to the smart contract part, let's add the smart contract address. Let's deploy it on Amoy. I installed the APIs and I'm going to select the event name. Let's repeat this process for repeat_every.post URL posting. And coming to the action part. So here it's going to be a post API call. Since it's a Web 2 API, let's call it Telegram Notification 1. I'm going to add the API details. Now for the notification. Here comes the tricky part, which is API payload. Since it's a Telegram notification, we have to add the chat ID. And for the text, we have to do it in a separate way. So in the parameter itself, here it's going to send 3 arguments. First one is the student wallet address, student ID, and certificate ID. So we are going to select as 3 parameters from regex generator. We have to generate 3 regex for this particular function. And we are going to copy-paste our first value. And I'm going to paste it over here for the second value. I'm going to copy from here, and I'm going to paste it over here. And same for the third value. Let's create this workflow. Let's cross-check the regex if it's this exact same or not. Yes, it's the same one. Let's compile this workflow. This will take a few seconds. Let's activate our first workflow. Now, a certificate notification YAML is also deployed now. It's time to register the user and get the certificate done with notification. This is Student Registry 1. And I'm going to go to Register Students. I'm going to add the student address. I'm going to add some random wallet address for now. Let's confirm this transaction. Okay, so the entry on blockchain has been made. The student details have been submitted to blockchain. Let's check our smart contract. Let's go to transaction. As you can see, transaction has been recorded 21 seconds ago. So as you can see, we have received the notification in this format. Right now, our student wallet address, student ID, and the certificate ID. So the logic over here in the certificate ID is basically to increment the number of certificate by 1. So that's why this happened. So we have received the notifications. That means our workflow has worked. So right now, this is our current format. But Kwala team is currently working on perfecting this format. I hope you learned something from this tutorial. Stay tuned for more such videos on Kwala. Thank you.